Hey, it's Russ. This is the follow-up video that we mentioned on our video last week about 5 great albums from 1987. If you haven't watched our video on 5 great singles from 1987, Lauren had some great picks for us, so make sure to go back and check that out. But for me, 1987 was an enormous year for music. So when we do these 5 lists, that's just so these videos aren't an hour long. It's just, 5 ones that we can think of to maybe start a discussion. So make sure to leave us a comment at the end of the video with what you think of my picks and what some of your great picks are from 1987. For me, the first record that pops into my mind when I think of the year 1987 is Prince's double album magnum opus, Sign of the Times. It was released on March 30th of that year. If there is a music genre, Prince pretty much covers it over this 2 LP set. It's one of those double albums that you, at no point do you say like, oh, this could have done without this, or, they could have easily got rid of this, that, or the other song and taken this down to 1 LP. I've never heard anybody make that argument against Sign of the Times. The only thing I've ever heard is people make an argument for how great all the music is. It's absolutely stunning. It had some big hit singles off of it, but I would argue that the songs that weren't singles are as good or better than anything that was released as a single. The next one is one that, to use the Wayne's World joke, I feel like in 1987, this came in the mail with samples of Tide. If you were alive in 1987, someone you knew, or several people you knew, owned the Joshua Tree by U2. For me, I know they made a big splash at Red Rocks and Live Aid and with Unforgettable Fire and did several records before. But for me, this was the first time I had ever heard U2, and I was blown away as soon as I heard I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. I think With or Without You is one of the greatest love songs I've ever heard in my entire life. The album opener, Where the Streets Have No Name, is killer. Bull the Blue Sky, whether you're listening to the studio version or the live version that would come later, it's just killer. It's a killer record. And if you are a younger person who maybe is more familiar with the late era U2 because they've continued to reinvent themselves and have a lot of hits, really go back and dig into the Joshua Tree. I think you'll be stunned at how good of a record it truly is. The next one on my list came out October 30th, so way late in the year, but it was definitely released in 1987. To me, this is a perfect record. Talking about Faith by George Michael. There's not a second of wasted time on this record, in my opinion, including one of the original singles off of it, a very, very controversial title to the song even, so I won't even say it in the video. But very, very funky song that was a huge hit, but then when you get the Faith album, it's like double in length. There's a whole second half of it that's like super jazzy and completely different than the big hit that you're used to. There's Monkey, there's Father Figure, there's the title cut Faith, Kissing a Fool. It's insane. And the guy covers like 4 different genres over 1 LP, really makes a statement for who he was then and who he would go on to be. He produced the record on his own. Monster record. When you talk about monster artists from the 80s and you talk about monster records from the 80s, there is no way that you can get out of the discussion without talking about Michael Jackson. August 31st, he dropped Bad, the very long-awaited follow-up to Thriller. I've talked about this on the channel before. It's a bit of a controversial pick. I personally think Bad is a better record than Thriller. What's funny about Bad is that I did not love the first single off of it, which was the song I Just Can't Stop Loving You. It has grown on me since. It grew on me soon after, but when I first heard it, I thought, oh no, we waited 5 years for this? I was like really not happy with that single. And then you hear the record and it's just, it reads like it's a greatest hits. Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Another Part of Me, Dirty Diana, Smooth Criminal. It's insane. For any other artist, that would be a greatest hits record, but for Michael Jackson, it was the follow-up to Thriller. So Michael Jackson, Bad is another one. The last one that I'm going to share with you came out July 21st in the middle of the year. It did not blow up till way later in the year and into early 88. It is, in my opinion, the greatest debut record ever recorded by anybody of any genre ever. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction. Again, for anybody else, this record would read like a greatest hits. So Welcome to the Jungle, It's So Easy, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City, Sweet Child of Mine. The list goes on. Night Train. There's no shortage of incredible hard rock on this record. Genre challenging for who they were at the time. Like if you talk to GNR fans today, if someone says, "Oh, GNR is hair metal," other people will vehemently deny that because even though they launched with that look, it was completely different sound than anybody else had. And then you include things like "Sweet Child of Mine," which is like one of the most melodic hard rock songs that there has ever been. And it's just an incredible thing for those five guys at that time to have put that record together. So this, for me, again, I know this scratches the surface for 1987 and incredible records. I just want to try and keep it diverse and say, like, hey, look at how many different sounds were on these huge albums from that year. So as I said at the beginning of the video, if you haven't checked out Lauren's video about the 5 singles, definitely go back and check that out. But if you would, share this video around to music groups on social media, because that helps us out a lot. Dropping a like helps as well. But what matters to us more than anything is the interaction. We would love for you to leave a comment on this video and let me know what you think of my picks for 5 great albums from 87, and what are some of your picks for 5 great albums from 87. And as we always say in every single video, thank you so much for watching.